All right. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Welcome to the eShepherd webinar. I think we might just wait one minute or so, and then we'll get started here in just a minute. All right. So I think we are right on time. So we will go ahead and get started. I am JC, and I work on the Gallagher eShepherd team. I am in North America, so I'm down in the United States ranch in Western South Dakota with my husband's family, and excited to be part of the eShepherd team. And this evening, we get to hear from a producer in Alberta, Canada. So we will have Nick Kunec joining us, and he lives. Here's a map just showing Nick's location, where in Canada he is located. And he will talk to us about his summer of using eShepherd and what his plans are going forward with eShepherd. So just to give you an overview, we'll hear from Nick first, and then we will have time for Q&A. So you are able to use the chat feature of Teams. So if you have any questions for Nick or the eShepherd team, we have lots of team members joining us this evening that can answer any questions you might have about the technology. Please feel free to put those in the chat, and we will get you answers to those. And so with that, Nick, I will turn it over to you, and I'll advance the slides for you, so just let me know when you want me to do that. But to get started, can you just give us a quick overview of your operation, kind of what kind of cattle you run, and how you're grazing with eShepherd?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Kunec, as she mentioned. Anyways, I up here in northeastern Alberta. We actually just got our first little bit of snow yesterday, or kind of yesterday, but it's probably gonna melt. But we'll be snow till probably April. So we have a challenging growing environment, and I mean we have to, grazing is very, very important. Anyways, my roots, I actually didn't grow up on the farm. I took over in about 2017 with a completely fresh mind about farming and stuff. So 2019, I went regen, put cover crops on the farm the next year. And then, as you learn more about regen, I went certified organic as well. And then I started looking at the grazing. Like we have been, I kind of feel like the grazing is like probably one of the most important thing to have a successful operation, and especially in our environment. I don't know, we're supposedly a 15-inch rainfall environment, but I would not believe we've had that for at least 5 years. This year was especially dry. We had probably about 7 inches so far. We didn't really get anything in June and July, our main growing months. So, I mean, the grazing is absolutely important. So, I mean, I started taking this kind of the more of a higher density grazing approach about 3 years ago, kind of fiddled with it a bit. Last year, I really was more intense with twice a day, 3 times a day moves and stuff. And I was, getting, really good utilization and basically extending that rest period. Kind of felt like, where you not get tons of rain, you kind of want to, at least if you give it longer time, there might be a chance that it'll rain. But anyways, you can advance.
Perfect. All right.
Is that video? So
Yep.
everyone's lucky here because I was part of the Living Labs where we're measuring soil carbon based on different management techniques. It's kind of a thing with Alberta. So they were really excited when I got the eShepherd. So I was kind of I actually had they brought a professional photographer and drone guy, and we did a little video here. So it's pretty neat. Kind of shows how well it's very choppy, but you can see this is kind of how I was grazing all summer. Basically, no fences anywhere. You get that cows are all very competitive for feed. You can kind of see if you kind of look into the left there, you can see where I had grazed about 25 days ago. But as you can see, there's no fences anywhere, and I was just I could move them across the pasture. Sorry, it's just watching the video, so it's kind of like a little bit this.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to back up.
So yeah, you can kind of see I was messing with my paddocks a bit, and it works very well.
Nick, is this kind of during a transition that you're moving cows?
Say what?
Is
Is
this
it?
like what we're looking at right now? Is this during a transition, like
Well,
a virtual fence move, or were they
so
just kind of wandering that way?
what this was is I had this tele or a camera crew come out, and they wanted to see how these would work. So what I did is that I had opened up a new paddock on the far side, and then I wanted to move them completely across the field, you know, to where it was grazed and ungrazed, just to kind of show them how well it worked. Because you can kind of see where I had actually started. If you look down, that's where they were about, you know, half an hour. But then I opened up a new virtual paddock to the, you know, this would have been to the west of them. And I just wanted to show how I could kind of lead them to where, because they don't always know where the new virtual paddock is. You kind of have to you have to show them, and then they'll creep forward, and because the cows are very you know, they're actually, it's not that they're scared, they just are very unsure of where they can go sometimes. Like generally, this was more for effect, the way that I did this, because I had the crew out there, and I wanted to show them, you know, I could basically move them to a new part, and they're gonna basically go in there at ultra high density. And then, you know, it actually worked really well, just the way they're come, because you can kind of see where I had grazed and where I hadn't grazed. So, but you can kind of see where the calves, you know, on that, you can see where the calves are always ahead grazing the better stuff, you know, alone, and you know they're getting essentially creep feeding for them. So works really good.
Awesome. Have you seen any different animal performance in your calves this year since doing more intensive like this?
I'm gonna weigh them probably next month, and then I'll see. Right, I'm not, and I visually they look healthy, they look great, you know, and but I mean the thing is I've also been harder on my cows because of, you know, because you're doing more non-selective grazing, because you're trying to, you know, increase utilization rate everywhere, because you know, it's just I got to adapt the cows and stuff, so it's kind of a multi-step in my system. I'm trying to get the cows to be adapted to this system, and you know, not, it's not going to be for every animal, right? So it's just going to be, it's going to take a few years for the epigenetics to come through, and then like you know, then we'll see the true value, or you know, the true just how it's going to improve going forward.
Great. And what paddock sizes are you running and how many animals?
So in this for this on this field, I was moving 4 times a day at about a half acre. I was doing about 0.2 hectares per day. So I was roughly getting about, there's 300 animal units there, like 300, you know, about 300 or so. So it was about, I kind of calculate to be 600, 700,000 pounds per acre on 4 day moves. And then you kind of create a more, you know, competitive environment for forage. So you kind of, you know, they're going to eat way more things that they normally don't.
Yeah, great. Awesome. So Nick, kind of going back to the beginning, can you share a little bit about what initially drew you to virtual fence and kind of your main objective for pursuing eShepherd?
Well, it was, I mean, I know that when I started moving the cows more often per day, the non-selective grazing just, you know, you got invasive stuff like thistles and brush and whatever. And as you tighten them up, they basically ate more stuff. And, you know, I'm certified organic. I don't want to spray. I don't want to do tillage. I fully regenerative. It's about, you know, if I can use these animals to impact the land in a way that, you know, it's going to push it forward, and, you know, not use any chemicals of some sort, you know, it's like you know, I call them my 300 cow power mob, right? They're just, they can, you know, they go into those bush, they almost, because, you know, brush encroachment is a problem. I just, yeah. Yeah, there's no collars on the calves. They're creep feeding, so they get the best stuff. Anyways, so yeah, you can use these animals to, like, brush encroachment happens as we overgraze, and you know, it's just one of those things that happens everywhere we see it. But you know, there's ways of killing it with chem, but I mean, these cows will eat a lot of it. I have some pictures of stuff where, you know, that's, you know, I think is not, you know, it's how do you get rid of it? But I mean, you know, under the 300 cow power mob, you can kind of get rid of it. And I mean, using the eShepherd is just so much easier, right? You're not moving you're not moving an electric fence all the time. Like, I mean, you could do this every 2 hours or whatever, right? Like I was up to 8 moves a day, like, on some paddocks where it's just every 2 hours they're moving. And you're just, you can give them more per day, but then you can kind of get that impact more so everywhere.
Yeah, that's great. Can you touch a little on, so kind of and how eShepherd's changed your operation? You mentioned drought the other day when you and I were talking. Can you kind of speak to some of that change that you've seen?
Well, again, the drought thing is all about you as you compress your farm down into smaller chunks using eShepherd. So now those other chunks are, as you increase the utilization, you increase the rest period everywhere, and then you can wait for rain. It might be a year, it might be a year and a half. At some point it is gonna rain. So, but then in the meantime, you've like, you can kind of see the manure pies. Like as you compress them, you get manure pies a lot tighter. So, there's gonna be good stuff growing through them in a year, right? It's a slow process, but like, having them is just like having these things. It's like it's a full thing. You got to adapt the cows. You got to, they're up, but I mean, they learn the eShepherd right away. Like it's great. I mean, you can go probably the next, or are we almost done here? Or
Yep, I think we just have a couple more videos we can click through here. Yeah. Um, it's not letting me go off the videos. There we go.
and like here's kind of an example. I have a couple of pictures of here of just like, brush encroachment, right? Like, and over the course of 2 days, you can go to the next one. Then cows got in, and then go to the next one. And then it's like it looks different, right? And there's manure in there, and now you got like just it's just a pain in the ass, like to try and put an electric fence around through there. It'd be a massive, but like there's if we went in there deeper, you'd see a lot more manure in there. There's sunlight, the sunlight can reach the ground now. You've got opportunity for grasses to grow with the brush. Like there's all sorts of like, I mean, the potential is just unbelievable. Like for this kind of areas, like, get the impact everywhere, allow the sunlight to hit the ground, and you get maybe higher intensity grazing, but like, once you get your cow herd, adapted to it, like it's going to be awesome.
Nick, speaking of that, can you speak a little to training your cows to the system and how long with a herd your size did it take them, to respond to the audio cue and stay
It's
contained?
it's very, very quick. Like all I did is I had a rectangular field. I set up an electric fence, maybe 10 acre, 100 meters ahead. And then I just as a, if they do go through, they're only gonna get so far. And then I just put them out, and, they figure it out right away. Like I mean, I would say it's less than a day. They figure it out. Like it's very, very, yeah, they have no problems with that. I put her on there because that's my what do you call it? My fence crawler heifer, and she's actually been with the herd the whole year this year. Like she's like notorious for going through 5 wire fences and stuff, and everywhere. But she's actually been a real good mom this year, and she's been with the herd the whole time. So that's why I put her on there.
Wow, that's great.
Again, you can see fence lines. It's, I have some cows that like my initial fitment was a little bit on the loose side. It was, I know since we've adjusted, some, but so there's going to be cows that but you can see the calves are always generally in the good stuff, but grazing lines are, I mean, you see it everywhere. It's awesome.
Nick, one question I always get about calves and calves not wearing the collars is, do you see it put pressure on the cows? Are they wanting to escape from that virtual fence because their calves are running further away? Can you speak to kind of your observation there? Do the cows seem bothered that the calves are roaming further away, or what does that look like?
honestly, like I think that the calves. I think when the calves are really little, then but they're not as brave. I think it just kind of. I mean, the cows are more worried about it right away, but the calves I don't think are as brave. Like they don't go as far. And then now there's calves that are half a mile away. Like they are everywhere. Like my calves are all over the place, and
And
they're just.
sorry, how much do they weigh now?
I'm gonna
Or I
guess they're
guess,
like 400 pounds. They're May June calvers.
okay, yeah, great. So they're becoming more independent, but they
Yeah,
seem to be sticking
I mean,
around.
I had one of my mean cows was I know I was tagging her calf, and then she wanted to get me, but her calf was beyond the virtual fence, and she got zapped a couple times, and it's kind of
Gotcha. Goodness, goodness.
the cows that okay. Someone just wrote a message there. That cow, like I had some collars come off, and that was because I fit them at 4 inches of space, which I should have done and that was kind of the initial was 4 or 5. It was that was early on fitting, and I
Hmm.
haven't really got. So I have some cows that will slip that are ahead. So those were the lucky cows this summer. They got to eat good stuff.
Yep. So we did change our recommendation. So we used to say that 4 inches of slack when you put it on the cow, and now we're encouraging about 1 to 2 inches of slack when you put it on the cow. So, okay, what are we looking at here, Nick?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to show some of the. I've had some fun with it, and I'm here in this instance. I'm moving across the road. I just finished this field, and I was like, what? An empty field, you can kind of draw something if you want, like give them, and then we can go. You got drones, we can go look from the sky. So, uh, and you can kind of, if you look on, there's a walkway back to my dugout, so that's why there's that long at the base of the heart. So this is just me moving across, and I was like, I'm gonna see if it how it'll look. So you can go to the next one.
So actually, before we advance, I'm just going to speak to this quick too. This is a snip from Nick's web app, which is it's the website you log into to manage your eShepherd. So what we're looking at right here, I would say notably is this little heart in the top left-hand corner here. And it's solid orange line is the active virtual fence line. And so all of these little dots are Nick's cows in real time and where they are. And then all of the dotted lines are previous virtual fences that he has used but are not currently active. So in this moment, the active paddock did include this heart up here.
That's what we got. Like works. And like for drawing, I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what we get because I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with it. They just got to be all right angles. Everything's got to be a 90-degree turn. You can't really do anything that's real tight angle, or whatever. So yeah, it worked pretty good. It was. I mean, I got to do more stuff in the future, I think.
Yeah, I would say so, a common theme with customers is, it usually takes a couple months to really get comfortable to push the system. But then once you've got it all figured out and your cows have it figured out, your imagination is kind of your limitation. You can draw up to 30 points when you're drawing your virtual fences, so you can get pretty creative when you're using it.
You can go to the next one. And yeah, actually, this is kind of. I mean, this is kind of shows you the stock density, and I mean, this is actually. I wish we could have the web app with this, but what happens sometimes is there's a fence in the background, and I had overlaid what I try and get GPS coordinates to that fence, and so then I try and overlay the virtual fence, but it's not. We're using cell phones to do GPS, and so what happened is when I overlaid it, there ended up being a tiny little strip from that fence to the virtual fence. So that's why the cows are packed in. But it's crazy. Like you see them, they will pack as tight as they can. They just don't want to go beyond that. You can get them 1,000,000 pounds an acre, whatever you want. Like they'll stay.
And how long are you leaving them in that size?
Well, this is where you're be moving them 8 times, 9 times a day, or eight, six, seven, or whatever. It's just in this case, what it was is I had like on the web app, you have like a way of because there's a fence there, and I had tried to draw it on the web app to, based on coordinates that I'd used on, what do you call it? It's, you do points, you do landmarks, and then I drew an actual, what was a physical fence, and then I thought I overlaid the virtual paddock on it, but it was actually a little bit, based on the coordinates that it's because we're using cellular GPS, right? It's not going to be perfect, right? Um, so then that's what kind of happened. They got packed in. I mean, once they figured out they could walk out and around and they were good. It's just, but I mean, this also shows how tight you can pack them, right? They can be tight. You want to get real impact, just make it tight and they will fit in there wherever there's room.
Yeah. Are you using the scheduled moves feature when you are moving fences 8 times a day?
Yeah, but that's the only way. It works really well. You just draw like 8 paddocks and then you choose your mobs, you set it for 2 hours and then it just keeps populating and the next paddock always has to include the previous one and whatever was there. So it's the way it doesn't take that much time to do that.
Yep. So what do you find yourself doing? Do you sit down and do like a week's worth of moves, or do you just kind of do it the night before every time?
Well, I know what I was doing a lot was I was trying to really monitor the animals and see how much they needed because I was kind of looking for a certain amount of utilization. But then you're also, it's like there's a line there with in this system you're kind of trying to get the animal performance decent, but you also want the land impact, right? So under ultra high density, you're trying to take more of this, you're trying to basically clean everything up, but then you're sacrificing the cows a bit. So I would be like, it's something you got to monitor. And sometimes usually I'll just do it the next day type thing a couple times and be checking the cows quite a bit.
Yep. And when you're doing this intense of grazing, how are you going out daily to check forage too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta go look.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, you can go back to that. Yeah, that one. So this is kind of again, this is what I love with the non-selective grazing. When you get ultra high density, you change their behavior. You like that thing in the background. It's called Indian dog bane. It's all over. It's spreading like crazy. Apparently, it's toxic to cattle, but I don't know. Like you can keep going.
Oops.
My cows start eating it, and then the next picture, you go to the next picture, and it's all gone. Like I mean, you'll go back to the other one. So then that's what was left of it, and that's something that guys would normally take up. They take some sort of 2,4-D or some sort of a broadleaf herbicide, get rid of that brush. But I mean, you change the way those cows graze, and you can do that with eShepherd because of you can start getting them under ultra high density, right? So they start eating more of the stuff, and once they learn that, then everything's more. There's more feed out there for everyone, right?
Yeah. How often were you moving when you were previously moving fences? How often did you find yourself doing that
Uh,
versus what you're scheduling in eShepherd?
Probably twice a day.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot still.
And then here that I was having more fun with it's because I call our farm Kunec Cattle Company. So I was like, how can I make this work? And yeah, you can kind of see you have to be creative with your paddocks, right? But I was like, I just want Google Maps to show that in a few years we can like maybe it'll I there's some of the spot a lot of these places I didn't graze, so we'll see. I can kind of compare ultra long rest with high intensive and take half leave half type thing. So I was just having fun with that.
Yeah, so someone kind of on the note of rest, someone just commented that that's some high pressure grazing, some of the highest they've ever seen. Can you share more on like what your rest periods look like?
Well, they're gonna be this place is not gonna I'm not gonna come back for at least a year or maybe a year and a half. I mean, it's really about rainfall. Like we can't rely on it anymore. So like, but in a year and a half we probably will get rain. So like it's kind of like I've been, by doing this, I'm able to stockpile other places. So like, and this is what people don't realize is like you go so hard here and then you can go, but then other places are going to get that year rest, right? And then you can go there next year because now you got fully recovered plants.
Yep. Do you see others in similar grazing environments in kind of how this type of grazing is allowing you to, not have to destock during drought years and things like that, and others that are doing more continuous grazing? In the short time that you've been doing this, has that made it seem worth, continuing what you're doing?
Well, like, yeah, like I don't like a lot of, I do think a lot of people up here are destocking. I mean, it's a great time to destock because cow prices are at all-time high, but I'm actually looking to buy more cows. Like it's just because of, this intensive grazing. I mean, again, it's not going to work for every cow. So you have to kind of find what will work. And, with eShepherd, it just makes it so much easier, right?
Yeah. What do you have any pointers on what type of cow you feel is the right fit for that?
Well, I honestly think you just have to go down in cow size and then, I think it could be any breed. I think that you just kind of have to find the ones that are working already, like the ones that I have that have been under this system under a couple years, they're going to be, I'm going to try and keep bulls off second calvers that calve in the first, just stuff like that, where you're looking at fertility under, more of a more, what do you call it? Higher, like, 'cause they're eating way worse, more fiber, right? So you got to find, it's kind of a, I'm just trying to figure it all out. Like, there's lots of different Facebook groups where we all talk about this stuff and I mean, but I think that realistically it's gonna come from my herd, bull selection from my herd, right? That from cows that are surviving and which is, it's cool. Like, I mean, epigenetically, they should be adapted to this environment, right? They should be the best ones, and then you should keep moving those uh genetics in your, keep those genetics going in your herd, right? And constantly picking the best.
Yep, yep, absolutely. There is a question in the chat about water. So when you are moving this intensely, how are you managing your water resources?
Well, right now, like in this field, there would have been, if you would look to down, there's actually a dugout there, and you just make paths. You can just make the path so easily, however you want to do it. I mean, in this, I was trying to I had 30 dots of turns, so I had to like kind of make straight lines where I could, because, you have 30 points to do it, right? So I mean, when you're not doing something elaborate like this, you can kind of like, it's easy. Just draw a straight line back to water or whatever you want and just have them graze back. They'll overgraze that spot, but then, you can, they can just go back to water and you don't need a fence there.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see the recovery in some of those alleyways or laneways to water too, just to see even more impact on that and how that comes back. How wide do you normally draw those when you're, when you're just drawing a laneway or an alleyway back to a water source? Do you kind of have a general size that you try to stick to, or what do you see works
Maybe
with
10
the number
meters.
ahead?
Like, I haven't really gone smaller. Maybe 10 meters. I'm trying to think if it's 10 meters, maybe 5, 10 meters. I think you can't be, yeah, it's not, I don't make them that big. I haven't made them, yeah, maybe 10 meters. That's what I've done, but it's like, I don't think you could probably go smaller than that, I think.
Okay. And in the dugouts, do you ever water? So you do water out of the dugouts, is that correct?
That one, yeah, that one I had, but the other one I had a solar water out of that one. They just kind of drank that one. It was pretty much dry within 3 or 4 days of them drinking that. We are dry. All our dugouts are dry up here. All our sloughs have got dry. We are not seeing, there's water there's no water where we've never seen no water up here.
Yeah. It looks like there's a couple cows standing out in the middle of it. And so, did you see anything different with them wearing the eShepherd neck bands? Just waiting out in the water.
No, not really. I don't know.
Yep, they should be pretty waterproof. That's what
Yeah,
I've
like
been hearing. So,
they dunk them in the water all the time. They're banging them. like they're pretty strong. I think they're pretty strong. I do have some solar panels that have been, I think that they must have hit something, but they're still working. It's just, I mean, yeah, they're pretty robust.
Awesome. Great, great. Looks like there is lots of questions coming in for you here, Nick. I might keep clicking through the rest of your slides and then we can hop into the questions.
Again, I just was, there's, you can see the dung, high density, lots of dung everywhere. Should be, I'm just really want to see that in a year and a half. So you can go to the next one. And again, I don't know, I just more brushy, kind of woody pasture. Again, they're breaking the trees. I mean, I'm not trying to kill the trees. I'm just trying to set stuff back. Everything should be set back a bit, like so they all have a chance to, everything has an equal fighting chance to come back, not one species thrive. You can go. And then this is just kind of an example of how, I mean, these are like, you can kind of see all the paddocks, you end up drying everywhere. And it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can go, these are probably, they're about those strips are probably a half an acre a piece. I mean, basically whatever your mind can think, you can basically draw them as long as they got 90-degree turns.
And when you're saying half acre, is that the entire paddock size or
Well, they're
just
just getting a half
the
acre
paddock?
of new. Like I'm giving them half acre of new because they basically grazed everything behind them. So you're just giving them new. Like it's actually kind of sweet because they always get new stuff all the time, right? It's just that they're having to consume more of the the base of the plant, more of the stems and stuff, which actually it ends up being a pretty good ration, right? It's a not all the sugar, not all the energy of the tops, right? So
Yep. So where my cursor is right here, like all of these little lines are basically just your front fence moving forward, right? So if it
yeah,
were a poly,
essentially,
you'd just be
yeah.
going out and advancing it. So when you're moving that intensive, you're not going out there and
No,
doing any of that, are you?
I'll set that up in the morning, and then I'll probably check on them once a day or something to see how utilization is, and then where they're at, and if I got to give them a little bit more, the figure they should get a little bit more, then maybe I give them just looking at gut feel and stuff like that. But um yeah, I mean it's just, I mean like it's just Google Maps, draw whatever you want, and then go.
Yep, yep. And I would say lots of people say the feed motivation keeps the cows kind of going through.
Yeah.
And so, yep, great. When you're moving this often, I'm curious, fly pressure, do you see any advantages with that and kind of getting away from the flies before they hang around too long?
Well, things are constantly moving forward, so I think that a lot of it is in manure and stuff. So I didn't notice too much this year.
Great, great.
You
Oopsie.
can at the end of it.
One more video
Oh,
here.
yeah, I call it the summer willows because I mean all my yearlings are just annihilating all the tree. Like they're not killing them, they're just pruning them, and maybe there's going to be more grasses in there, and then that's even better forage. So, but
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. And then this was just a snip from Nick's web app today that I took. So when you're zoomed out, it looks like lots of chaos going on just because he does have all those previous virtual fences turned on, and all those little yellow marks are his landmarks that he's talked about dropping. So we're kind of changing seasons here in North America. So Nick, I'm curious, what does the winter plans look like for you?
well, this is where the eShepherd. This is the super intriguing thing with eShepherd is going to be the batteries through our winter. We get about, I don't know, it's sunlight will be 9 o'clock, and then they'll be dark by 3, and we go through these phases where it's like the sun doesn't come out. It's just this haze over, and so again, so we'll see how the batteries survive, but then it's like with us with stockpiling in the system, you're always stockpiling. So I mean, yeah, if we get rain, we'd be able to stockpile. But anyways, I'm still gonna try grazing a little bit longer, and the whole thing is once the snow comes, is what I'm curious is to just keep moving the cows towards new snow. So, and we can, if the cows know that there's forage underneath the snow, they will go for it. But the thing is, you don't want them grazing the whole field because everywhere they step, basically that snow then freezes and then it's grass they can't get. So it's I'm really excited and curious to see how this is going to work, with the battery life and then also with moving them into no, and not moving them to new grass. We're moving to a little bit of more snow every day and see how they can do on the grazing, grazing through the snow, which I mean that if we could graze all winter, we would save a fortune in our all of our operations up here.
Hmm. So then when do you determine if you do have to start feeding? Like bales, I assume, is that what you're feeding?
Yeah, like and generally I bale graze all winter and don't know if you can see. But so again, the virtual fence would be really interesting because I generally put the cows into a pod of 200 to 300, 2 to 3 weeks worth of bales. But maybe now I just give them 50 bales and then move the virtual fence and have them clean up. Because they kind of like in bale grazing they do kind of eat all the good ones first and then they kind of got to eat they eat the worst ones after. But just using it like there where it's just maybe you're moving them every couple of days or whatever and they're making them clean up and getting probably a better balanced ration.
Yep.
But
Yeah, that's great. I've
like
heard
I
a lot of, oh, go ahead, sorry.
no, I just seen someone talked about wooded areas and I just say I used them all over the bush this year and it was like some of the coolest grazing the potential with them would be to run them through the wooded. I've always thought like if we could get more animals through the woods and then get more manure in there, we could probably get more grass growing and then that's a way better grazing environment. Like I did that all over the place this year. You know, I would just run strips through the grass through the pasture plus the woods and you kind of get them all the way through and they never like I've had collars come off because I haven't had the cows back in to fit them into 1 inch or 2 inch. They were all at 4 inches. My yearlings were at 5 inches because I wanted to give them room to grow. So that was kind of a little bit of my battle, but I'm gonna get them all in here eventually where I'll refit them. But the wooded thing is a very interesting thing because we could I'm very curious in the future with that because yeah, getting the animals in the bush, getting the manure in there and urine and dung, everything in there, and then creating these kind of silvo pastures that would be just wonderful.
Awesome. I'll speak a little bit to winter, and if Zippo has any comments, he can chime in too. But as far as battery, we know that if the neckbands have a full charge, they can go about 7 to 8 days with no sunlight. And so I know up in your area, it definitely you probably can see some periods of time where you might see that. But even if the neckband can get a day in there of 4 hours of sunlight, that should boost that enough to keep being able to virtually fence. So will be a good winter in Canada. I'm certain of that. Can you share a little? So you had mentioned going to lots of hockey games, and so have you seen yourself being? How has eShepherd played a role in kind of your work and family, personal life balance?
Well, I went on a trip to Manitoba last week, and I went to Vancouver to see some friends a little while ago, where I had set up like 8 or 9 moves. Just you can set up the schedule where you go every 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, then you do a 12-hour jump, and then you go 3 hours. You can just set it up in the schedule where they're constantly moving. It's like you're not didn't even leave. So I mean, you can be very yeah, like I mean, you can set it up. I mean, you probably set up for a week or whatever you want, like, and they'll constantly be moving forward to new grass, which is I think that's important. The most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Nick, thanks so much for your time. I might jump into some of the questions, and if you don't mind sticking around, I think some
Yeah.
of them still are for you. Um, I don't know if we covered this, bulls. Are you using them on your bulls?
Yeah, I put them on the bulls, and with the bulls, you have to get a longer chain. And I don't know, the bulls are fighting, and I've had a few of like there's a little Allen screw that goes in the base of the the bolts the chain into it, and I've had a couple of them come out, so I don't know if you need to Loctite with the bolts because they do fight and there's more probably impact. So I've had it with the bolts, a couple of them come off, and I did fit them tighter. So I gotta, but you have to get longer chains because the chains don't, you gotta just get. I mean, it's any sort of chain you can get at any hardware store.
Yep, great. I've heard Loctite what is recommended when you're changing out those extra long chains. So good feedback there. Have you used any of the exclusion zone areas, or are you just kind of using the 30 points for your inclusion areas?
I haven't used it. I know my neighbor. I actually one of my neighbor. He's on the webinar here. He was just gonna show me the other day how to do it. I just haven't done it yet.
Awesome. Yeah. So I see a question. Can you set up multiple fences and exclude haystacks, as well as around the cows? So yes, you can draw. You're basically drawing your inclusion fencing, which is where we're keeping the cows in. But then within that, so for example, that dugout we were looking at in that photo, you'd be able to draw an exclusion area around that and keep the cows from going inside of that. So definitely something easy that you can draw right in the system there. And do you have good cell reception, or what are you? So Nick is using direct to cellular. What's your experience using your cell phone? Is it great service? So what does that look like?
There's I don't know if there's some places where it's not, I would say it takes a while. Like I don't know. I know it's been down. There's been a couple times where it went down and then it took a while for it to go through. But I mean, it's there's a couple of spots where I was surprised. I can't even talk on my phone, and they were getting the moves all the time. So I mean, it seems like it works pretty good. Yeah, I gotta talk to you guys. I just wonder. I'm going to be going up to my lease next year, and I don't know if the cell isn't the best up there, so I don't know if it'll. If it's one bar, I don't know how well it'll, because it's a lot of bush, and that's where I want the impact. It's I don't know if it'd be worth to do LoRa on some stuff, because I just don't know the difference. If the LoRa is, how well that works within
Yep.
the mile or whatever.
Yep. So for you or anyone else listening, I would say just work with your eShepherd representative and we'll help you kind of walk through, and we can do lots of different types of assessment to figure out if direct to cellular is best for you, or if we do need to go that LoRa base station route. On the cellular side, it is using a lower frequency band of the cellular network. And so we always say, usually if you can send and receive text messages, that's sufficient. Or if you have 1 to 2 bars of cell service across your grazing area, that's a good indicator that you're likely a good candidate for that direct to cellular. And we can talk further through all of that with you and look into your specific location as well. So awesome. Let's see. Have you ever used, so you mentioned alleyways and laneways to water. Have you ever used it to move cows to completely across your operation, or move them to the corrals or anything like that?
Yeah, kind of move them across the fence, and I mean, I was gonna move them a mile, or I haven't really done long ones. I know it'll work. You just have to lead them, right? Because the
Okay.
cows, they don't know where to go. That's there, because you'll have a couple that are brave that will kind of lead the way, but most of the cows are just followers. You need to have
Yep.
those couple aggressive cows that will go to wherever you go. I mean, if you're out there all the time, they know you go out there, you get moved. So
Yep. Great. Awesome. I was just thinking, we do have one customer, and I think he's actually on here, but he has shared, he hasn't gone out and moved them, but he has just kind of relied on feed motivation. And so it definitely needs to be kind of more your peak grazing season where there is better, fresher forage. But he has created alleyways and basically opened up a watering point that was further away, and had cows lead themselves, down that alleyway right up to his corral area. So if it's the right time of year and your pastures are set up that enable that, that's definitely something you could give a try as well. So awesome. Well, I think that's kind of the majority of the questions. Thank you, Nick, so much for your time this evening. And if anyone does have questions, feel free to reach out to the eShepherd team. and we would be happy to help you.
All right, Zach, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nick. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.